Hey guys, I just got some thoughts. I'm doing alright. I don't like, because for me, I view it as like, it helps me because when I externally process things, like I can say it to myself, but then I'll forget what I said. But if I've recorded it, I can then go back over what I said as I was just talking, and then I've made sense of things. That's a part of autism. But the other reason why I do this is because it could be helpful for someone. So, someone could relate. Now, growing up, and even through like up to my mid to late 20s, well, once I got late 20s, so long as I had a full time job, I thought, that was all good, even if it was paying minimum pay rate. I mean, I want more, obviously, but that's just to set myself up for raising a family. I've got enough if it's just me, okay? But at the same time, it's like, no, you know, because there's all the physical needs such as clothing, housing, warmth, food, water, but then there's the other needs such as loving connection. And I didn't take this for a while. I haven't spotted this. Just keep scrolling past it every day. So no, I haven't got anything here. Like, there was like a couple of weeks where I wasn't taking the cough medicine, and I can feel it, but it's nowhere near as what it used to be. So I might get some cough medicine next week. I had this up against my nose, so why not? Distracted. So guys, I will take my meds afterwards. Put this at the front. So money was not really the most. My purpose was like, I always had this belief that God had set 1% of the world aside as leaders. This was when I was like a teenager. So this is going back to the mid 2000s when I started believing this. Now, that's not, that, and they said that everyone's got a place and stuff, right? But God had actually set aside 1% of the world's population as leaders. So you go to every single town, every single city, every single nation in the world, and then within those, there's the regions, and then there's the, if you want to be an Americans, it's the states. Don't know what the rest of the world call them, but I know in like New Zealand and Australia it's regions, and the UK it's regions, and states it's states, and then there's the districts, and then there's the, what do you call them? Oh yeah, it's a district, yeah. As their 1% is set aside for leadership by God. All different forms of leaders. And I knew I was a leader, but it was more of like spiritual understanding. But even then, there's a whole bunch of different things. Like people say, oh, you know what, signs say your big breakthrough's coming is when all these great things are happening. Well, for me, in my life personally, from my experience, it's always been like I've been hard out going after something, right? There's like 2 or 3 things like I'm really focused on in regards to, there's all this other stuff you do that you now take for granted. Well, not take for granted because you remember the times it was hard and you couldn't do it, but now you can do it. But then like there's 2 or 3 areas where 2 or 3 things I'm like hard out focused on, And it is a process because I've tried not being focused and then just, taking it easy, or not taking it easy, but like, just having faith that it's going to happen. But that never worked, and then there's times where I just went hard out and it never worked. But everything that has worked does come from like, I went hard out and I was like, but then it got to a point where I didn't really care about the results anymore, but I was still just going, and whatever happens, happens. And that's not me pretending that I was thinking that way, that was me literally thinking that way. And then it would happen. But it wouldn't, what happens sometime in that season, when I didn't care about the results, but I'd put in years of hard work and dedication and focus towards this. Also, there's luck, because it's got me thinking. I didn't think about it at the time, I just gave the answer, but then my typical, I don't know if it's autism or ADHD or whatever, but reflecting, because my friend said something, someone I know from the ADHD group said, why don't you join a band? But then it brought back voices of other people, and so I thought I would say it on here. What I said to him is just, I was doing choir, and I was doing the kapa haka until I was in my mid-20s. So by then, everybody has already joined bands. And it was in my early 20s that I kept putting my hand out about joining a band. And some people said, aren't you part of this kapa haka group? And I was, but I wanted to add more to the plate. And some people were like, no answers at all. That was the high majority. And some said no. And then there was a couple of situations where, or a number, but at that time I believed in making my own music, and I wish I had other ideas back then, but then who knows what it would have happened. But in regards to, like, maybe I would have wished I had done the things I done if I had took that route back then, like, wish the things that I've done now that I wouldn't have done if I had taken that route. But these things fell through. Well, not fell through, but I mean, I put my stuff up on TikTok, but that's about it, But people said that I should, they offered me positions. There was a couple of times they offered me positions in, like, well, not offered, but like, said you can come sing with us. And that was with cover bands. Covers only. But I was in my early to mid-20s, and it was like, no, I want to do my stuff. I thanked them, and I tried to keep contact with them and respected them, and if I knew they had a show coming up and it was like $10 entry or something, and it was like $2 show, 2-hour show, and it was like $10 entry, and they were playing all the hits of the time, or maybe like just they put out a list and it was at a local bar or something, I'd show up, and unless I was busy that night with working on whatever I was working on, and it involved a group. Like, if it didn't involve a group, I'd still just show up, if I had the money to get in. Because there was times I wouldn't have the money. But, yeah, I mean, and sometimes, so I don't feel like this all the time, but today I felt a bit heavy. But it was like, I know, and I'm mature enough, and I've known this for a number of years, that feelings come and go. But at the same time, you don't want to falling into your shadow side, and this could help someone. Because the comparison game, and that's very, very familiar feeling for people who have autism or ADHD. I mean, on here you might see the ones that do well and things like that, but again, as I've said before, it fluctuates every year between 15% and 25% employed. So that means it's on average it's 80% unemployed every year. So society would say I'm doing well, but the thing is I know that I could be doing a lot better, and I would have been doing a lot better had I been given more opportunities in regards to other things. So Yeah.